All right, brethren, welcome back to another episode of Views from the Grand East. I am sitting here with Right Worshipful Bud Madgey, our Junior Grand Warden, and I was just made aware that you're now heading up our membership committee as the Junior Grand Warden.
Correct.
All right. So I was able to speak with Bruce earlier, still sitting here. You came in after him. And we started off with the history, his history. So I'm going to start the same question for you. What would you say is your Masonic history?
My Masonic history started sometime back in 1996. I knew absolutely nothing about Freemasonry. I'd never even heard of it. And Right Worshipful Dale Lynch and I worked for the Voorhees Township Police Department. We were working a midnight shift, and he was talking to another guy on my shift about Freemasonry. And I asked what it was. And Dale told me that it was a fraternity. I said, well, is it attached to a college? And he said, no. I said, well, how do I find out more about it? He said, give me $10 and fill this out. So I did.
That was it.
And a few months later, I showed up at the lodge for my entered apprentice degree. And it all went from there. I found it was kind of unusual because there was no YouTube to look anything up on. There was no Google, back then, and I couldn't really go on and research and find out what I was getting myself into. And that night I walked into the lodge, I was introduced to the Worshipful Master, now Right Worshipful Fraser Allberger. And he introduced himself, told me he was the Worshipful Master of the lodge. When I go up for my degree, there's another brother upstairs explained to me that he's the Worshipful Master of the lodge. So I thought, wow, these guys must be really secretive. They won't even tell me who the real Worshipful Master is.
Oh, yeah.
And I was raised on February 21st, 1997. I immediately was put into a chair. And I stayed in a chair. I made it all the way up to senior deacon. I was a single dad at the time. I had my 11-year-old son living with me. And then I was working shift work. My daughter came and she was living with me as well. So now I had two kids. I'm trying to juggle babysitters and shift work and Freemasonry. So I had to step away for a little while. And then I came back as the junior warden and finished up as Worshipful Master in 2012. And 2012 for Laurel Lodge was a very, very busy year. We raised 27 brothers to the sublime degree of Master Mason.
Okay, that's fantastic.
I had just retired 2 weeks before I became Worshipful Master, so I had nothing to do, so I made Worshipful Master my full-time job.
Yeah, that's ideal.
We put an elevator in so that the brothers and the OES sisters who couldn't make it up the stairs were able to get up to the stairs and participate in Lodge again. So that was a significant milestone, I believe. And in 2015, I was appointed as District Ritual Instructor of the 18th District under Most Worshipful Anthony Montori. And I've been on staff ever since. I served 3 years in that position. I was District Deputy Grand Master for 3 years. I was Grand Order, and I was on the Marshal Corps and became Grand Marshal for Most Worshipful Leonard Vanderhorn. And I ran for election. I was elected to the position of Junior Grand Warden, where I am now.
Well, congratulations on that, by the way.
Thank you very much.
So thank you for sharing the history. The following question we had was, what is your favorite part of Freemasonry?
I enjoy all of it. I enjoy being in Lodge and honestly just sitting on the sidelines and enjoying the brotherhood and the fellowship. I enjoy degree work. I really like good degree work. I believe in having meaningful degrees and just enjoying it all. I like I said, the fellowship and the degree work really makes it for me.
Okay, yeah.
And it's just something that...
it's nice to go see a good degree. Especially if you're seeing the degree, we've all seen degrees, especially if you've been in for some time, so many times. And when you see it done really well, even if you get a word perfect night, it just knocks it out the park. It makes it
makes you feel good. I'm a ritual guy. I have 4 of the 6 lecture bars.
Nice.
Now that I'm off the Marshal Corps, I have to finish up the final 2, which is the EA lecture and the installation of officers. And I'll get to it. We've been so busy running around, it's hard to find time to sit still and get all that done.
There's been a lot, now that you're bringing up the bars, I know I was talking with Right Worshipful Gary McCory, who was originally my DRI when I came in. And and some other brothers too, a lot of other DRIs and stuff like that are talking about that we don't have enough people doing bars. That it's something we should be, trying to push more of in the lodge, because we have older brothers that do them. And then what happens one day when they're gone, or they move, they retire, whatever it is.
Well, that's the problem we run into, is we're slowly running out of guys who are able to do the work.
Yeah.
And the work is what sets us apart from the other organizations.
Sure.
You know, that's what makes us different from the Elks and the Rotary and all these other organizations.
Because they're reading their stuff.
So yeah, we need the younger guys to come in and learn to work and be able to perform it well.
Okay, you heard it here first. Our junior Grand Warden requesting you guys to step up and do the bars. I got to get some bars too then. I'm just as guilty.
Get to it.
So now you come in, you're sitting here, junior Grand Warden, first year as an elected member, and we got the train to the Grand East, right? So you got some time to plan. Obviously, Bruce talked about the initiative to work, like, I guess, kind of extending the Masonic Leadership Conference to start focusing on, like, helping, like, a focus on senior wardens. They're 6 months out, like, to help them prepare, going as far as a senior deacon, right? Like, hey, if you're there, you're pretty much next step is going to be jumping on that train. You're now a junior Grand Warden. What would you say is, outside of what was probably spoken about, what would you say is your goal? What do you want to finish your year and be able to say?
We need to help our lodges provide meaningful meetings. Far too often I go to a lodge unannounced and I show up and I'm sitting on the sidelines. There may be 2 people sitting on the sidelines and there's nothing on the agenda. There's nothing in the trestle board, and that doesn't inspire people. When you walk out of a lodge, you should feel like you participated in something great. And I've said this before during my campaign speech, but I mean it. We need to provide our upcoming worshipful masters with the resources and the training that they need to have and hold effective meetings. We need to teach them how to plan their year. It's our fault. It's our own fault that we're failing. We are competing with a lot of other things. We're competing with Dancing with the Stars and kids going to soccer practice and everything else.
Video games, you name it.
And video games.
Yeah.
And we just have to do a better job.
Yeah.
We have to have our agenda full of meaningful programs.
Can you elaborate on something that you would do if you were master again of a lodge?
I would love to be master again of a lodge, maybe someday in the future.
Okay.
I did really enjoy being worshipful master. I had people come in and talk about Civil War and Freemasonry. And he talked about they would fight each other during the day, and then at nighttime they would hold degrees and sneak each other across the lines and actually have brotherhood. And the following day they go back to shooting at each other.
You hear about it in the 1 degree.
We had a brother come in one night and talk about fly fishing. I've never been a fly fisherman. I've saltwater fished and fished in local lakes. But he's standing in the middle of the lodge explaining fly fishing. He's whipping this fly back and forth in our lodge. And it was one of the greatest things I've ever seen. I've never seen anything like it.
Okay.
And everyone was into it. And it was just
nobody got hooked in the face.
No one got hooked in the face. But it was, you have to have something going on all the time. And you have to let people know that you have something going on all the time. And you have to tell people and show them that your lodge is the place to be. This is where it's happening. And you have to keep them active and engaged.
Yeah, I agree, 100%. I remember speaking with Most Worshipful Margroff, and he was doing the study of, like, the cancellations that were happening and getting some of the feedback. I believe Right Worshipful Royce and Padian had done, like, surveys. Wasn't that many people, but it was enough to still grab some data. I know the Grand Master is looking to, now he created the retention committee that Right Worshipful Paul Gaetano is running. And I think it's important that we have that too, because that information is going to help us and where we can improve. But the biggest topic is what you're talking about. People say that, like, you come to Blue Lodge and it's people arguing over spending $100 on something. And, and that's a 30, 40-minute argument, which should have been a 2-minute discussion, if at most, and then voted and moved forward. But having, Bruce said it before you about kind of the same thing. He was on the same, like, I guess you guys are really on the same page with this, that it doesn't just have to be Masonic light. It could be something, like, again, how we're making good men better by teaching them things about life in general that could benefit them. So I love to hear that that's the direction that you and him are going on. I'm sure when I speak to Omar, I'll probably hear the same thing. I think that's what the craft can definitely benefit from, because we are giving up time out of our day away from our families, significant others, hobbies, whatever it is. You come home from work, you're tired, you got to take a shower, eat, get dressed in a suit, go to your lodge. And so make it worth it.
That's true. One thing we need to, like, having committees, and I hear talk every once in a while of having, like, an amnesty where brothers who have been suspended NPD can come back. And but the truth is, if we're bringing them back to the same nothing that they left for in the first place, we're not going to keep them anymore.
Correct. Yeah.
So we need to change our ways. We need to keep these lodges busy, and we need to keep the brothers engaged.
Yeah. You're not going to solve a problem with the same issue that created it.
That's correct.
Yeah. All right. Great. Well, I think, again, we kind of touched on what it's been, but what do you see as the biggest hurdle in the craft right now?
The biggest hurdle in the craft, I believe, is just getting everyone on board and moving in the same direction.
Sure.
I believe we need to collect the best practices of our most successful lodges. You go to some lodges and they're packed and they have programs and there are things going on and things to do, and you go to other lodges and there's absolutely nothing going on.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes the worshipful master is scratching his head, sitting in the niche, wondering why there's no one visiting his lodge. And really, it's our own fault. You know, we have to keep it busy. You have to have something going on. Think outside the box, and let's get it done.
Yeah.
You know, people aren't just going to show up just because.
Yeah.
So we have to give them something.
I agree.
They have to
110%.
leave feeling like they participated in something.
Yeah. One of the big changes, I mean, you've been up to our lodge for Viking Feast, you were recently there, but that's just an event. We got to keep people, one event isn't enough, right? And like you said, it has to be, what are we doing? I know our current master, our worshipful brother Orlando Margado, he's been pushing for more programs, more speakers and stuff like that. I know our incoming master, Brother Jonathan Young, I talk with him a lot, and he wants to have programs for speakers. But again, what you're talking about, it doesn't have to be Masonic speakers. It could be subjects that are like, one we were talking about was maybe on how to dress more appropriate, understand outfits and, you know, the different type of collars and what's the right way to have this and that. Like little things like that that can help you be sharper in your life, in your job and everything, not just in a lodge.
We need to keep our past masters active as well. A lot of times you'll see worshipful masters, they get out of the East and you never see them again. I've seen it in my own lodge several times over. And when I was coming up through the line, it would be nothing to see 18, 20 past masters at a rehearsal night sitting on the sidelines, giving you a piece of their mind and letting you know what they think and how they did things in their year. And past masters are a wonderful source of guidance and knowledge, and we need to utilize them. And if we don't, they're going to go away. We have to keep our past masters active and engaged as well. We just need to do a little bit better. It takes effort, and you can't just go into East, put your hat on, run your meeting, and go home. When you're the worshipful master, you have to take control and push your lodge forward, and that's what we need to focus on.
Many hints at the same time. The conversation, I believe we had it at the Masonic Leadership Conference past October. You know, they have it, and that's like the subject that comes up, like how do you utilize a past master? What is a past master really, his job and stuff like that? That was one of the subjects I know that was brought up in conversation. I always looked at it as the past master is like getting your black belt.
Correct.
Right? Like you learned all the foundational stuff, you get your, but that's it. Now you have to get the degrees as a past master. And that's really where the work starts, I think, because now you've been through it, you've ran a lodge, you understand it better. That's why I understand why you can vote at Grand Lodge and not everybody else, because you've understood things differently. Right. And so, yeah, for a lot of people, like you said, I've seen some past masters, you know, they get in there and they just get back to their lives. They don't really, and we need you more than ever.
We really do. We need our past masters to be involved. We also need to realize, and our past masters need to realize, that they are no longer in charge. They're there to help. Sure. And so every once in a while you see one that struggles with the worshipful master. He doesn't like the way the worshipful master is doing things, and it can create a division in the lodge. We want to try to avoid that. We want to all move in the same direction and just do better. One
of the best practices I heard about that was from past master of my lodge, worshipful brother John Cataldo. He has a big part in DMLA. You know, he was a state master counselor. I don't know DMLA that well, but he was talking about helping the kids and stuff like that do their stuff. And he goes, what I learned is, he goes, you don't want to be telling them what to do, whatever. He goes, they might be walking near the edge. He's like, okay, just let them walk near the edge. He goes, it's when they're about to fall off that you grab them and say, hey, let's not do that. There's some stairs. Let's walk down this way. And he goes, just be there to guide them, give advice. But he goes, don't tell them what to do. And he goes, they'll respect you more and they'll learn from you. And it was something that sat with me. And I'm like, okay, as a past master, that's what I kind of want to do. I kind of sit on the side until I feel like, okay, that's a danger. Let's say something and move forward.
Sure.
So now stepping into the Junior Grand Warden's chair, you've been put in charge of the membership committee. So Right Worshipful Art Campbell is heading up the committee. We have a lot of other great brothers there working. I know Glenn Ken and Dennis Stevie, Akash, and all these other guys that are doing, you know, some of the video work or the marketing, the digital marketing, stuff like that. And now they're reporting to you. So what has that experience been like, and what do you think that we can do in the membership committee to improve it?
Well, I think it's very nice. Although Art checks in with me, I don't interfere with what he's doing in the membership committee. He seems to be doing a very good
Doing a
job.
great job. Yeah.
And so I just kind of monitor what's going on. Art fills me in, and then I'm kind of the liaison between the Grand Master and the elected Grand Line and the membership committee. We just have to get out there. We need to get more involved in the community. We need to make sure our ambassadors are doing what they're supposed to be doing.
Big part of it.
A lot of
Yeah.
times candidates get lost in the system.
Yeah.
And if the ambassadors have to have a way to follow up and make sure that they're getting to the lodges and that the lodges are following up and getting them through the process if they are deemed worthy to get through the process. So that's basically it. It's a good committee. I'm glad to be a part of it this year. I'm learning a lot as well. The committee seems to be doing a very, very good job. I think we have 11 or 1,200 prospects
It's
in the system.
beautiful.
The last time I checked it in Grandview.
Yeah.
And hopefully we continue to move forward.
Yeah.
It's something that needed to be done, and I'm glad that we're doing it now.
I think putting the right people in the right place for success. Art's been doing a great job with it. He brought me onto the committee to help out and give some feedback and stuff like that. This program that you're watching today is kind of stemmed from the membership committee because our YouTube channel now was assigned to me, but it's under the membership committee.
Right.
And that's why I wanted to have this stuff for you, the brethren, to get a chance to meet some of the elected line, other things that are going on in Grand Lodge, so you can have a better idea of what's going on in the state and the people running it. The membership committee has been, I think, a great success, and as long as we continue to do what we're doing, I think we'll see where I think it's going to be. We're the first time close to getting to be in the black for 1 year, where we're not.
That would be nice.
So I think with the membership, if we can get the ambassadors on board, get the brethren on board, because again, as I was speaking with Worship Brother Jordan Shelby, that one man can't do it all. Right? It takes, like you said, the lodge, the effort from everybody to bring the brethren in, make them feel welcome, learn, so on and so forth. Not everyone's going to fit in the same lodge as another.
Sure.
Find the home for them.
Well, we seem to be bringing them in at a pretty good clip. It's keeping them
Yeah.
that we have a problem.
It's guarding the West Gate from the inside.
Yes. we really need to, it all happens at the lodge level as far as maintaining membership. The Grand Lodge can provide the resources, the Grand Lodge can provide the education. However, it's up to the worshipful masters and the brethren of the lodge to keep these brothers active and engaged.
Yeah. Well, us in Blue Lodge, we're the front line, right? We're the ones that are really doing the day-to-day experience with all the brethren. I've been fortunate enough to serve on staff a couple years now and really get to see the other side of the fence. And it falls back to, it falls back to Blue Lodge.
It does.
We can do as much as we can on staff, but the real work has to be done at the lodge level. I think there's available resources there. I can speak when I was master, failed to use them. Or I just didn't know that it was there. So I don't want to point any fingers at where that failure is, but that was something I was like, hey, maybe if I was a master, I'd better knew that was there. I could have taken advantage of it. So it's something I believe, like the DEOs, I had 1 year as a DEO under Most Worshipful Len Vanderhorn. His year, I served on his staff, but I was also DEO, and found out there's so many resources that we have. Grand Lodge puts out a lot of information. We just got to get it into the right hands, and I think the brethren can grow and develop from that to serve better, whether, again, if you're just a sideliner or you're the master of the lodge.
Right.
Everyone can benefit from that information because we have to teach more, is what I believe.
Earlier in the year, I spoke to a brand new worshipful master, and I was talking to him about planning his year, and he had no idea that we had a Grand Lodge Speakers Bureau. And so I was able to go on to Grandview and send him the link so that he can access it. Yeah. And he had no idea the Scottish Rite had a Speakers Bureau, that he can go online and talk about the topics they speak on, and it's very useful. And we have to make sure that our worshipful masters have access to these things and know where to find them.
Yeah,
that's important. And if we're not doing that, we're not doing our job as a Grand Lodge. We need to make sure that they can find these things. We provide them with the tools, but we have to make sure they can get them.
I think it's creating the SOP, right? For this is what it is. It's one of the conversations I've had, at least in my lodge personally, with our last master, Wade Collins, Worship Brother Wade Collins. When he came out, he's very organized. And that's one of the things I was like, hey, I need your help with that. Let's create a book that we have that we can say, hey, this is how we do things in our lodge. So that the master's walking into some type of guide. He doesn't have to try to figure it out. Because granted, you can be in lodge every meeting, but you still don't, it's not the same as being in the chair, right? And then having the access to those resources, sometimes just analog on a piece of paper is going to be way better than make them go digital.
Agreed.
All right, well, but I don't want to take up too much more of your time. So any closing statements? Anything you want to leave the brethren with?
Brethren, just do your best. Participate, become a part of it all. Let's get our Grand Lodge moving forward and get your lodges active and keep them busy. That's how we're going to save our craft. We've been dropping by like 1,000 members a year for several years. Yeah. And I think now we can start to move in the other direction. And that's what I'm hoping for.
We have a lot of attention on it, right? I think that's been made clear by speaking with our Grand Master, speaking with the Senior Grand Warden, now speaking with you. I guess everybody's aware. Like, we need to really put focus, and I believe the direction that you guys are talking about is the right direction, right? We got to make it worth taking the time out of your day to come into a lodge.
Yep.
But it falls on all of us. It isn't just the master. It isn't just you guys at the top. Brethren, it falls on you, all of us, to step up, to make it worth it for all of us, to be here to meet and share and have that fellowship. All right. Well, Bud, thank you again for taking some time out of your day to come speak with us and share with the brethren.
It's good to be here.
We're going to be looking to have some more episodes here. I believe I'm going to be speaking with Right Worshipful Omar Morris, our Deputy Grand Master. We have another program coming up with Right Worshipful Eli Berkowitz, the Grand Photographer, and his story of when he got injured and how Freemasonry was there for him. So until next time, brethren, take care.
Brethren, thank you for listening.